Hello, 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 hello. Is that working? Can you hear? Yes? No? There's nothing muted. There's nothing muted here. It's not muted. It's not muted. There's nothing muted. Hello, hello. It's not going. Hello, hello, hello. It seems to be going on there. No? You hear me now? Wow, I don't know what happened. Anyway, great. Fantastic. Sorry, you guys. We missed a lot. Jeez. I wouldn't blame me if you all went home. My mic, listen, I don't, okay. My mic was on. I thought it was on. I did. I don't know what happened. So that means that we're okay on YouTube as well, and we're okay on Rumble. Okay, all right. So we should continue. I guess we're okay on all of them. All right. So does root canal interfere? Root canals are the worst. They're like one of the worst things you could ever have. Anyway, so we're gonna, for those that you couldn't hear the beginning, we're gonna repost the whole thing anyway, so you can hear the beginning. Didn't get a lot said really. So, um, but yeah, I was talking about the things that are coming up. That are coming up. Very exciting. Another one with Darren on movement. You got to watch the one. You got to watch the ones we have already. The podcast on movement, and and then with Dr. Emma about biological dentistry. Very important. Now next one we're gonna do is root canals, uh, cavitations, and other infections in the mouth. Uh, so, all right. Um, where's your question again? Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay. Okay. So again, oh my God, that question was about the colonoscopy. So the thing is, you can get the colonoscopy if you want to get a colonoscopy, and if you want to see if you've got polyps and all that. But what's really a good thing to do? Just start eating right. Just start eating right. Eat, because remember, health is not uh, uh, does not come by chance. It does not come. You cannot purchase health. You cannot negotiate health. You cannot coerce health. You can only earn it. And you earn your health by healthy living. That's period. Period. And the problem is that we all grew up not learning how to live. So can you get a root canal removed by any dentist? No. First of all, they won't, because they think they're good. Unless your tooth is black, they won't. You've got to go to a biological dentist. Please, Amy, go to drlodi.com, go to the podcast, find the one. I think it's called How Big Is Your Head? We're talking about dentistry. And that was the first one with Dr. Emma. Um, and we're going to do more on that subject. But yeah, no, you can't, because they'll make it worse. We don't want them to do anything, just like you don't want regular medical doctors to do anything. So anyway, if you're just going to do the colonoscopy, it in of itself is not bad. I mean, it's probably not comfortable, but you know, it's just that it might turn into them cutting off everything they can find. That's all. Okay, but it's not bad, and it's not. And if you've been eating pretty badly for a long time, then you want to know, then okay, do it, do it. But then if you find out, then don't go into hospitals and get poisoned and cut up and stuff. That's not always the right answer. All right. You got to go to someone to get a true second opinion, a true opinion. Okay. All right. Now back to Wendy. Sorry, Wendy. So, Wendy, for those of you who weren't able to hear before, Wendy, right-sided breast CFCs, for 5 years. She's had completely holistic therapies, no drugs or radiotherapy at all, and like she's been living holistically. I don't know the details of that, but I'm assuming it's true. And suddenly she's on a new protocol with Coriolis versicolor mycelium extract capsules, um, which is the same as turkey tail. The old name is Coriolis versicolor. So a 72-year-old female, beautiful, walks 3 miles a day. I love it. So, so your question is, will it stabilize? Do I have holistic MD, just an oncologist for blood? You don't need an oncologist for anything. Remember, oncologists, the oncology leads to morgues. I sound what? What do I sound? I sound like exaggerate, am I hyperbole? No, it's true. Uh, so you don't need an oncologist to get your blood testing. You have your holistic doctor do it. It's they're just blood tests. It's easy. Anybody can do it. So you don't have to do that. Okay. Now you got to look at LDH. You want to see if that's going up. If that's going up, then it's not good. You look at your ferritin to iron ratio. You look at a few other things. One thing you look at is lymphocyte subset, and I'd like everyone to have their either doctor or nurse practitioner or physician's assistant. I don't know, even chiropractors can, but order lymphocyte map, and it's a company called Cyrex, and they have it's the best, the most detailed evaluation of your lymphocytes, because in the end, whatever you're doing to overcome the CFCs, when we see that we're not making any progress anymore, if we get to that point, then what's happened is the immune system is just not able to do its job, period. That's it. There's not another reason. Okay, so and the reason, one of the reasons why that happens is because of the tumor microenvironment. We've talked about it often, because when the macrophages get in there, they become tumor-associated macrophages, tumor-associated dendritic cells. The natural killer cells they lose their they get inactivated. The activated T lymphocytes get inactivated. So all that stuff is inactivated. So they just can't do their job. And then plus the CFCs increase one of the T helper cells, the group of T helper cells, to become T regs, which turn off the immune system. So basically, your immune system is not working, and that's what happens. So if you don't turn it back on, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's not, you can't succeed. Okay, so what now? So what you're doing here, I just wanted to tell you, Wendy, what you're doing now. I'm not sure what you're requesting, because it sounds like you've done really good. It has, you saying they did metastasize the liver and lung, but it's going on 6 years. So, but you've had a big breakthrough with the turkey tail, with the versicolor, Coriolis versicolor. So, anyway, what I'd like to say is that about mushrooms, because we're talking about the tumor microenvironment and immunity, your immunity. Now, there's lots of things we have to do. More about brain fog. Okay. There's lots of things we have to do working on the immune system. One is we've got to usually get a peptide called thymosin alpha 1. I think the FDA in this country approved it under the name Zadaxin, and but you've got to get it from you've got to get a good reputable peptide company. So I wouldn't go to compounding pharmacies because they vary in their abilities. Compounding pharmacies vary in their abilities to making something like a peptide, even though it's a quite simple process. Um, they just they're not all. I would go to a company a lab that makes peptides. So you've got nature. What's it called? Nature. TaylorMade, and you've got Peptide Sciences. So anyway, thymosin alpha 1 is going to, especially if you're over 40 or 50, if you're over those ages and you get up to 60s and 70s, you really have no, you're not making many T cells. So you need thymosin alpha 1, right? So you're going to take a 10 milligram powdered vial, you're going to reconstitute it with sterile water, 2 cc's, and then you're going to do 0.5 cc's per day with a little insulin syringe. 0.5 cc's is the same as 50 units of insulin. I said 50 units on an insulin syringe. So you do that daily, and you'll get now you get some good T cells. Now they're going to get inactivated. So what you want is you want to get another peptide. I've talked about this before. It's a 5 amino acid peptide called metenkephalin, and that's its job is activating the immune system. That's its job. It's made by the adrenal glands. We make it. It's natural. So anyway, doing that, it goes in and it kind of undoes all the stuff that all the negative effects that the tumor microenvironment has on the cells, which is fantastic, on the immune cells. But also going now with Wendy's situation, taking the turkey tail. You have to understand that mushrooms support NK cell upregulation. The reason they're called medicinal mushrooms is that's one of the main things they do is they upregulate the ability of natural killer cells to do their job. Okay, so they enhance the natural killer cells' ability to kill CFCs, to kill whatever it's going to kill, and it enhances T cells. Okay, so that's pretty good. It also winds up these mushrooms also wind up increasing inflammatory cytokines such as TNF, tumor necrosis factor alpha, IL-2, IL-12, IL-10, and interferon gamma. They increase all that, which directly kill. So yes, you're having a good effect because you've done that. Now, as you all have heard, there's the 1,3,1,6 beta glucan, which is a insoluble part of the mushrooms that are very immune modulating. They're very important, right? But these are polysaccharides, and there's other polysaccharides in mushrooms, such as the proteoglycans and the heteroglycans, and they all come from the chitin base, which is kind of the wall of a mushroom, right? And then some of the other, pharmacologically, I guess, relevant compounds are lectins in several species. The lectins are very, very important. The triterpenes, the phenols, and the sterols, they produce all of these things. So all of these things together, plus the immune enhancement, they're fantastic. You've got to take them. So turkey tail is great, but so is Agaricus blazei, fantastic. And of course, reishi, and what's the name of reishi is I think Gondoderma lucidum or something. But anyway, maitake, reishi, turkey tail, and agaricus. And if that's a good combination. That will upregulate the natural killer cell function and T cells. So it's really, really important. So you're getting the good result because of your immune system is being turned on. Now, considering that you're 72, if you also were doing the thymosin alpha 1, fantastic, and the other one, all right. Now Next question is by Carla. I have had a condyloma, that's a wart, for years, removed in surgery, but keeps coming back. How do I treat it? Not sure if turned to CFC yet, but want to know what to do if it has. Okay. Well, warts don't generally turn to that. I mean, they can be part of the process sometimes, certain ones, but warts are thought to be viral. And the thing about a wart is you got to get the root out. Somehow you've got to get the root out. You can't um, if you slice it off or anything like that. So that's why laser treatments are good. They can get down to the root. And another thing that's good is peroxide and ozone, right? But you got to be consistent. Peroxide and ozone, so you not only eliminate the kind of the covering, but also the root, because the roots are hard to get rid of. Now this is Gloria, interested in Fenben. Good. So great. I mean, do it. I mean, I just saw another guy this week who had a miraculous. He was also in hospice, kind of like Joe Tippins in hospice, going to be, told to go get his affairs in order. So took Fenben, but he also took. I mean, this other guy took, curcumin, vitamin E, a few other things, not a lot, but what you would do anyway, right? You're going to be eating right. You're going to be eating healthy. You're going to be eating real food. Real food is what the earth makes, right? Not artificial food that we make. Earth, real, us, artificial. Okay, that's why we have artificial intelligence. Okay, not those machines. Okay, so here, why do I say that? How can that be true that we have artificial intelligence? Well, what do we produce with our intelligence? We produce artifact. We produce that which is artificial. We buildings, houses, cars. It's artificial, not real. When it's no longer usable, it's trash. Mm-hmm. There's no garbage in nature. Nature does not make garbage. Everything that is secreted is necessary for some other process. There's no waste. So we make garbage because it's artificial. It has no place. It has to be broken down somehow. So, anyway. So Lerato is asking a very similar question. How can I heal or treat genital warts naturally? Again, warts are very, very difficult. They're you've got to get to the root of them. So a lot of times, the two main ways that dermatologists were using, well, at least when I was more aware of it, was either freezing it or using heat, lasers. I think both would work, but you got to go to someone who really knows how to do it, because you got to get them out, and you can. But the other thing is, remember, they come like a lot of people who have had warts. If their immune system gets strong enough, it goes away again. So again, it always comes down to immunity. So that's why what you've got to do is clean up. Like when you're going to live healthy, that means you're going to do a juice cleanse for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever you can do. Then you're going to eat nothing but real food, and you're not going to subject it to anything like fire or chemicals or anything like that, right? You're not going to thermally degenerate it. And you're going to stop eating for anywhere from 3 to 5 hours before you go to sleep. You're going to go to sleep early. You're going to move around all day. You're going to meditate and pray, and you're going to stop lying. And don't carry any big secrets. Confess. I did it. Whatever it is. I'm telling you, it's emotional pus. Okay, so um, all right. Now, so here, this is from Stacy, and Stacy says, "Hi, I've been diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia. I'm on watch and wait. I don't know where to begin on treating to best combat this issue. Can you please assist me?" Yes. So they're telling you they're watching and waiting because it's probably not active right now because it'll get active if it's chronic lymphocytic leukemia. So it's not an active thing. It's not active right now. So, but it's still there, and they're going to watch and wait. But that means they're waiting for it to get active, and then they're going to bomb it with chemo. So what you want to do, and I get it, and that's the right way, Stacey. You're saying, well, why don't we turn the process off now? Okay. So you got to do everything that we have talked about. You've got to go to a biological dentist. You've got to do a 3D cone beam bio. I should like make a recording. Just you got to do that. You got to go to and make sure that you've got nothing in there, and then you got to do a parasite cleanse because we've got parasites. You got to do that over and over again. You do a juice cleanse. You do lymphatic work. You do movement. You go to bed early, and then you eat food that grows from the earth. You do all that, and then you learn to meditate, which meditate means listen, means shut up, means turn off the mind. And when you do that, the reason I say to do that is because the immune system is the shadow of the mind. It follows the mind. And so if you're really sad, angry, regretful, or anything like that, it directly suppresses the immune function. And the opposite is if you're really happy and all that. However, the problem is this: you can't control thinking. Thinking is not something that's in your control for most people, unless you've been meditating a long time. Because thinking is something that happens to you. It's not a doing. You don't decide to think, and you don't know what's going to be in your mind. You can only react on it or not. But anyway, so that's the problem. So, and 90% of the mind is subconscious, meaning we don't know what we're telling ourselves. We don't know our internal dialogue, and 80% is negative. Therefore, just turn it off. Now, it's not easy, but it's possible. And when you turn it off, when you turn the mind off, I'll tell you something. Because if you're thinking at all, you've got 80% of your thoughts underneath, even if you're picturing a beautiful lake and a rainbow. Underneath, 80% is negative, and it's just like having your foot on the brakes of the immune system, holding it down. The minute you stop thinking, they go through the roof. And this has been measured. This is real. This is real stuff. It's scientifically based. So, so every time you do that, now it's hard to get there. So you do that by just listening to your breathing with your eyes closed, sitting comfortably, and just listening with all your heart and soul to your breathing. Okay, and then your mind's going to wander. As soon as you realize it, come back to the breathing, and then it's going to wander again, and just do this for 2 minutes. 2 minutes, only 2 minutes, and then do something else. 5 times a day, but do it 5 times a day for 2 minutes each time. Do that, and you'll develop a mind muscle to shut off thinking. And then every time you shut off thinking, you just give your immune system a boost. It's the most important thing you could do. And then that and movement. And if you watch the podcast with Darren, you're going to see that with Darren and I. Meditation and then movement. And that's why, when you think of things like, Tai Chi and Qigong and and then yoga too, where there are movements, but it's all coordinated with the breathing. And part of breathing, the reason breathing is so important, please understand, is that most of us are on sympathetic overdrive. We have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic, right, of our autonomic nervous system. That's the nervous system that is not voluntary, right? It's how your food's digesting and your heart's beating and all that. So we all know sympathetic is fight or flight, and then the parasympathetic is digestive functions. And so we're mostly sympathetic overdrive because we're mostly uh, freaked out about everything. I mean, especially nowadays. I mean, that's all they do is freak us out. I mean, what was it? Last week, the freak out for last week was the World Economic Forum's meeting to decide our fate. Who the hell are these guys, man? So, um, anyway, so that that's the thing. So the world is full of stresses, and we have a lot of negativity, and we're going to decrease our immune function. We have to really recognize that. The only way to overcome that directly and fast, I mean immediately, is to get to the point where you can turn your mind off. You've got to learn to turn it off, and um, so it has to do with the breathing. So the breathing. What I wanted to say was, one of the exercises they do is that in the morning, you do with your left first. No, you're right first, yeah. Breathe in, then out. Breathe in, and then anyway you switch over. In, out, in, out. That's one. In, out. That's two. Because remember, usually about every hour we switch nostrils anyway. That has out of which we predominantly breathe. And of course, the right side is parasympathetic and left side is sympathetic. So if you do this exercise, right, 20 times in the morning and then maybe do it again at noon and all that, you can help to rebalance your autonomic nervous system. The other way to rebalance it, to do other things, to stimulate your vagus nerve, which is the main nerve of the parasympathetic, is to hum. And if you don't mind, you can say the most beautiful word in the world, Om. I mean, that hum, because why? Because the vagus nerve, which comes from the brain all the way down to the gut and back, and it's how like our bacteria in there when they're sending up messages, it's a big time communication system. Um, it The first two branches of it, as it leaves where its origin, go to the larynx, and they're stimulated with a hum. And the om gives you lots of other stuff too, lots of amazing things. Right? So do that. Okay. So anyway, Stacy, you got to do all of this stuff I'm talking about. Okay. This name they gave it, chronic lymphocytic leukemia. It's just a name of because they saw the cells they saw. They probably, well, I'm sure they did a bone marrow biopsy, and that's what they saw, and that's what they're saying. So it doesn't mean that you have this, you are this. It just means that uh, your body's adapting to a situation where its needs are not being met. Something's being blocked. Something's causing a problem, right? So since we don't know what that is, what we're going to do, we're going to get rid of all possible toxins. Just get rid of all the possible toxins. And it's not like you can do it overnight. You've got to do the biological dentistry. You've got to do a juice cleanse. You've got to do colon hydrotherapy multiple times, 2 times a week for 8 weeks, and then 1 time a week for another 10 weeks. Just all a good colon hydrotherapist is going to get all the way up to your cecum. Okay, not just over here, all the way up to your cecum. Clean it out. Why? Because the feces that's in there is the colon's still doing its job of absorbing, right? And it absorbs. So every 4 minutes, there's something called enterohepatic circulation. So the entero refers to the gastrointestinal system. Hepatic refers to the liver. So it goes from there to there every 4 minutes. So every 4 minutes, your liver gets a big wave, splash of sewage. And we expect it to do a good job with all the other stuff, right? Because you just ate some whatever, and it had some chemical in it. So that, really got to free up your liver by doing that. The other thing is, remember, 60% of our lymphatic tissue is in our GI system, right? Gut-associated lymphatic tissue, Peyer's patches, lymph nodes, and spleen. All of this is lymphoid tissue. So 60% of it is in our GI system. So as the portal vein is bringing up all this stuff from the colon, and all these our lymph nodes are also getting are trying to protect us from these toxins in our feet, in our colon. So you got to clean out your colon, and you got to get a certified lymphatic therapist. Find one. In the meantime, if you're active all day, you're moving your own lymph. If you're active, every 90 minutes you're going to get up. You're going to do something vigorous. Jumping jacks, just jump, 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 jump rope. A stationary bicycle, some push-ups. You can even do the push-ups against the wall. You can do them against the desk. You don't have to get down. So just getting real active like that is going to move your lymphatics and move your blood vessels as well, and keep things circulating. It's really good. It's good for your heart, your mind. Also do balancing exercises. Darren will go into all of this with you. Okay, so you're going to do all that. That's what you got to do, Stacy. Yeah, and don't worry about what they're saying. And then there are other things too we would do for you, help you with, vitamin C. There's other things. It's really we got to have a talk. If it sounds like you don't know, you're new here, so you got to get in touch with me or go back and watch. These have all been saved, so they're all in whatever if you look at Instagram or Facebook, they've all been saved. And also, actually, Facebook, we were off of there for 7 months, but Instagram should have them all. Okay, so here we go. So this is Holger, and Holger says, I diagnosed in October with smoldering myeloma. Eosinophils were high. You all know what melanoma, myeloma is. Myeloma is called multiple myeloma. It's a condition where we have lymphocytes, right? We have T cells and B cells. Well, the B lymphocytes, when they get activated, they split up into two kinds of cells: memory cells and plasma cells. And the plasma cells are the ones that make all the antibodies. So that's basically what it is. It's a plasma cell, fermenting plasma cells. So anyway, so the eosinophils were high in December, as my doc and the college wanted to make chemo. I didn't go there anymore. I changed the way to eat, only vegan, and stopped smoking. Drink only good water and take vitamin D, magnesium, selenium, HCQ, whatever that is. Still have pain. Please help me. Any suggestions? All right. Well, you have pain probably because the multiple myeloma goes to the bone. You probably have pain in either your hip, or you've got some pain, in the backbone. It goes there a lot. You can even go to the skull. So the thing that really helps prevent and also eliminate that is a medication that's used for. It's an antibiotic called doxycycline. It's very good for bones because it blocks the process. But there are other ones too. We've got the same with you with multiple myeloma. We've got to do everything. Okay, everything. And I just talked about it. We talked about it. I don't. It's almost like instead of answering questions, I should just go over what we should all do, because it's not really different. It's not really different. The biology of chronically fermenting cells is the biology of chronically fermenting cells. It's not like when they say, what type of CFC do you have? My type, I've got a very rare type. It's not. It's the same thing. They're the same thing. The only difference is it's what cell they began in. So if they began in this cell, they're going to act like like a liver cell. They're going to have a they're going to have activities like that, and they're also. And then you got to look what are the draining pathways of the liver to see where it could spread to, right? And you look at the lymphatics, and that's what we're talking about. Other than that, the actual biology of any CFC is the same. It doesn't change, right? Just keep that in mind, please. Don't 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 let them confuse you with that, because like, and I've had people, they think because they have this or that, it began in the pancreas, or began in the brain, or it began in what do you call it? I don't know. And any other organ, breast, ovary, that it's different than the other ones. It's not. The only difference is the location. So ovaries, because of where they are, they can easily cause. You wind up getting very quickly. First of all, you don't know it. It's usually find it late, but you wind up getting ascites, fluid in the belly. The pancreas, if it just grows a couple centimeters, it's already in another organ. It's already causing jaundice, and it's causing problems. Or if it grows the other way towards your kidney or your spleen. So it's just because of location, whereas a breast can go 2 or 3 inches and still be basically what they call stage 2, right? So yeah, okay. So now, Holger again. They want you to take chemo. Okay, Holger. For the multiple myeloma, they want you to take You're eating vegan. Okay, but are you eating cooked vegan? Okay, if you are, that's good. It's better than not. But remember, for now, you want to finish this. Everybody that's got CFCs, you want to get rid of. You want to make this whole chapter in your life as a historic rather than a current event. And the way you do that is you go 100% into it. So right now, you're not only going to eat vegan, but you're going to eat the food the way nature made it, as if nature and God knew what they were doing. Okay, I'm going to make that big assumption. Anyway, it's a demonstration of faith, and it's also you stop behaving in blasphemous ways. And blasphemy is taking the substances that God made for our nourishment and burning them, putting them in the oven, changing them chemically, as if we knew how to make them better. So we changed the chemical substance of it because it tastes good. Why does it taste good? Because you ate it when you were 3 and 4 and 5. Or you 3, 4, 5, and 6, and you develop this kind of weird appetite, which was probably appropriate for your particular culture and family. And then that somebody else said, "Oh, here, Trav, you tried to eat snails?" No, or frog legs. So now you get, oh my God, that's fantastic. But they're only going to be good. You're only going to be attracted to it because you've already entered that. You're into that, right? So, but that's why these things we think they're good. We think we got to have them. We can't imagine going the rest of our lives without any, live monkey brain, right? I can. So anyway, you got to go all the way. Now you're only drinking water, good water. That's good. You stop smoking. That's good. Vitamin D, magnesium, selenium. Those are all good. You got to take vitamin A and vitamin C. You got to sip 7 to 7. You're still having pain. You got to get the doxycycline. You got to do your parasite cleanse, colonics. There's all these things you got to do. And whoever you are, you got to do that. Why? Because we all have the same body. Well, okay, not the same body, but if you study the human body and you do anatomy classes with cadavers, you find that they're all the same. I can find this particular blood vessel, this particular nerve on anybody. It's got a heart, four-chambered heart, lungs. I mean, spleen, gastrointestinal, stomach, duodenum, jejunum, ileum, colon, anus. Same. And you're either XX or XY. And if you're XX, you're going to wind up with a uterus and ovaries, ovaries, the uterus, vagina, and your breasts will get enlarged, and you'll have menstrual cycles, and you'll be able to bear children. But if you're XY, instead of having that, when you're in embryo, there is a part of the embryonic, as it's developing, we're talking about very, very small. It's called the genital ridge, and initially we're all the same. There's only one. There's like a unisex. We're all the same, and it's the male. It's the embryo with the XY chromosome, which is male, that starts producing a hormone which changes the phenotype, the outside appearance of something. So although they're basically the same, so you wind up with, and whereas with the female, with the XX, doesn't produce that, so hers just goes to becoming what we would all be, which is a vagina, right? So the male came from the females. It's not the other way around. That's why I've always wondered why they got that wrong. I got to talk to Moses. If I ever run into Moses, I'm say, listen, man, it was great 5 books of Moses, but that first part there, that Eve came from Adam's rib. I mean, if we're using rib as a metaphor, that's not quite right. So maybe it's something I don't understand. But anyway, we're all female. Males are an extension, an absurdity, and usually males don't live longer than females, right? They live 10 years younger, less. More females survive infancy. More females survive childhood. More, and then females wind up living 10 years longer. So obviously they have a superior physiology. Anyway, this is a weird thing. I got in trouble before with TikTok when I talked about that before. So the genetics of that person, whether it's XX or XY, won't change, right? No matter what you do to the body to change the shape to make it look differently, you're not changing the genes, you're changing the phenotype, the expression. You understand? So you can't change genes. You can't really change gender. You can only change the outside. I'll tell you, there are chemtrails. Well, I don't see them at all where I'm from. None. Real clouds, real skies, real air. Here, there's chemtrails. It's like mad. I can't believe it. Do you guys think that we're ever going to stand up and say and do something about this? I guess we're not. I guess we're just going to let them do whatever they want. Anyway, that question that we were earlier on by, I think it was a person from Thailand who said chemotherapy doesn't cure because there's no disease. You're doing chronically fermenting. You have chronically fermenting cells, and you want them to stop doing that because it's an adaptive response. Remember, it's adaptive physiology, and the way you do that is is making sure that all of its biological, psychological, excuse me, spiritual needs are being met, so it no longer has to adapt. You can then use, so you cleanse the body, you do all that. You use metabolic therapies that are not toxic to other healthy cells, and you wake up the immune system. And if you can do all 3 of those, it's gonna be over. That's how you eliminate them, and you go on to living a healthy life. Okay, this is from Cindy. My mom is continuing high dose chemo after colon resection and hysterectomy. 4 out of 11 lymph nodes tested positive. Oh, we're not clear. 4 out of 11 tested lymph nodes were not clear after the surgery. Please recommend what she could do to support her body. Yes. Yeah, I mean, but is she going to do it? Cindy, is she going to do it? She has to be asking me this question. You can't do it for her. You can't. Listen, anybody who gets CFCs, you've been tapped on the shoulder by God. You've been anointed. You're just being told that the road you're on is a little shorter than you would like. Make a right-hand turn here. And if you make that right-hand turn, and you make all of the changes that are required, every one of them, including the learning them to not think, go to bed early, all of them, 100%, eating real food, 100%, and do it because you're happy, because you know the alternative. You know that the alternative means they're going to cut you up, they're going to burn you, and they're going to poison you. You know that. So why wouldn't you say, hell yeah, this is much better? Yes, thank you. Instead of, I don't know, I can't use that. I have a hard time. Forget that. If I had CFCs and someone told me, or I read an article and it proved that eating cow dung eliminated it, hey, I'd get one of those little tents. I'd move into a pasture and I'd be right there with the cows. I want to get the fresh stuff. I don't understand do what's necessary. Now, what I'm talking about makes absolute sense. What I'm saying is if you understand that these CFCs are an adaptive response. Adapting to what? Adapting to the fact that they don't have mitochondria. Why don't they have mitochondria? Because they've been knocked out by a toxic environment. Wow, how's that happen? Well, you live in the 21st century. Food, water, air, clothing, EMF, stress, heavy metals, plastics, all this stuff. They all conspire to knock out, and the vulnerable part of the cell is the mitochondria because they have oxygen, which produces free radicals. So they're really vulnerable, and so you lose a certain percentage of them, and the body has to adapt. Well, it's got to live. It's got to live. So it starts to ferment, which is a very primitive yet works way of producing energy, and that's all it is. So what you got to do is say, okay, well, let me get rid of all the toxins in the body that could have initiated that process. Just get rid of them and keep them out, and make sure I eat the right foods. Start wearing a Faraday cap, Faraday clothing. Turn off your Wi-Fi at night. Limit your exposure in those areas. Make sure you can do your. Make sure you. This is your new job is to get healthy. All right, so this is Steve. Working with Dr. Brett in Atlanta. Been treating holistically now with non-small cell lung cancer. I said that word, sorry. NSCLC, non-small cell, for 2 years. Stable, slight groan. When I fell back into sugar, I've built a temporary oxygen tent over my bed, and I diffuse colloidal silver, DMSO drops, hydrogen peroxide, 20 drops in 100 mLs. Small room diffuser for the past 5 months. Feeling great. Golfing. Current protocol of Fenban on new moon and full moon. Ivermectin every other day. B17. Well, listen, Steve, we gotta, you do some good things and some things that are unnecessary. So the Fen-Phen, you got to take several uh, antiparasitics. You've got to take them. You've got to take antifungals, antiparasitics, and parasites. Remember, are worms and single cell organisms. So you've got to get the anti-single cell organism, which is antiprotozoal, which are the main ones are tinidazole, metronidazole, metinizole, and nitazoxanide, which is a linea. Those are the big ones. And then, but even praziquantel can nail some of the protozoa. But you want to do that, and you got to do them on. You do 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Go to my website, drlodi.com, and look at the webinar on parasites. Just watch it. It's got a lot of details. You'll learn a lot, and you'll learn where to get them. Okay, now as far as your infuser, diffuser into your peroxide and I don't think you're going to get enough in the air. It's not going to really help. Peroxide is best used with as an intravenous when you're talking about your own health. But what's interesting about peroxide is that it is one of the fundamental intermediate. I'm thinking like an allopath. I hate that word moiety. It's such a ridiculous word. One of the instead of moiety, we say but byproduct. It's one of the fundamental necessary byproducts of metabolism, right? And Dr. Charles Farr, who was an MD and a PhD, was nominated in 1992 for the Nobel Prize. He didn't win, but for his work on peroxide, hydrogen peroxide, and he discovered it. I mean, hydrogen peroxide is whoa. If you read a book, it's called Medical Miracle by William Campbell Douglas Jr. Medical Miracle. That's the book that when I read it, right? I had a regular like urgent care practice, right? And when I read that book and I closed it, that was it. Done. Can't do it. Could no longer ethically practice. Because I realized what? I realized that all the biology and biochemistry and anatomy and histology and there's no pathology that we learned, we don't use. All we do now is give drugs and what? So we don't use the knowledge. We were given a lot of great knowledge. It's an honor to go through those training, but then use it. We don't, So, and I'm reading this. I saw, wow, that blew me away. So since the book was dedicated to Charles Farr, MD, PhD, I found out he was in Oklahoma. So I went there and hung out with him for like 5-6 months. Worked with him, studied with him, got to be really good friends with his wife as well. I hope she's doing well. Charlie passed away not too, well, now it's been maybe 15 years. But really incredible guy, but he kind of one of the pioneers in this whole field. I mean, he used to have big sign up. Now, back in those days, nobody, you couldn't do vitamin C, peroxide, ozone. I mean, you did those chelation, you did those things, and you were like, they lost your license. But he was a PhD, MD, PhD, so he had a big sign up. I was so impressed. Hydrogen peroxide drips, because why? Because they call him to the medical board, and they can put all the experts in front of him, and he knew what he was talking about. He talked to the details. He did all the research. Remember, he was nominated for Nobel Prize, so he knew it. But anyway, like for example, hydrogen peroxide. Do you know that it's necessary for to making thyroid hormone? Do you know that that's what your white blood cells produce when they first run into something they want to eliminate? Do you know that it's produced and it's a free radical? It means it's got some active stuff going on when you're making your neurohormones and stuff. Yeah, and it goes on and on. It's really in the middle of everything. So what Charlie said was, well, let's give it to you. And by the way, vitamin C, high dose vitamin C, results in the production of peroxide. Ozone, rectal ozone, as it goes through the rectal wall. Not the ozone doesn't, but it causes peroxide production is in your blood. So peroxide is a lot of ways to get it in. So if you're going to get it in, you're going to have significant amounts to do anything. You want to do it IV. So when you do it IV, it's usually 0.03% pharmaceutical grade, and they mix it properly, and then it's got to go in slowly. Um, it's got to go in slowly because if it doesn't go in slow enough, it will cause irritation to the inside of the vein, and after 5 treatments or so, your vein will be hard and you won't be able to use it again. You have to change veins. What's incredibly interesting is that what I just told you happens more in lower latitudes for some bizarre reason. And no one's going to explain that. But anyway, so now the DMSO is good too, but just 20 drops. And that's the fine. And the colloidal silver is good. So here's the thing, Steve. And this is actually for everyone to hear. This is why we do this together. I see many people doing many things, but none of them are being done sufficiently. None of them are being none of what they're taking or doing is at a sufficient dose and the frequency. But yeah, they're doing all these things. And so if you're not taking a sufficient dose and the frequency, you're not going to getting the benefit you think you are. But what you are doing is because you're taking so many, you're actually putting a burden on your liver because it's got to get rid of it. And so, yeah, so the problem is most people don't know. They don't know where to go for guidance. They don't know who's going to help them and most doctors don't know. You can't even, I'm not talking, I don't even refer to the guys in the hospitals as doctors. They're warlocks and witches. I'm going to talk about, the holistic doctors. Most of them don't know, unfortunately don't know, because they don't research the details of how it happens. Because they're not, they're busy and they're looking for things to add to their practice, and their whole focus is different. The focus that I think is necessary if you're going to work with people who want to regain their health. The focus has to be on that. Helping people regain their health. It can't be on making money. It can't be on getting fame. It can't be on anything else. It's got to be on that. And when you're focused on that, you're going to find. I'm, literally 7 days a week. Studying this stuff, and I'll never figure it out. I know I'll never figure it out because only God knows how this works. But I've learned a lot, so what I want to tell you, Steve, DMSO is really good. However, in terms of you putting it in a diffuser, it's a good anti-inflammatory. But okay, that's one thing. You're doing too small of amounts, 20 drops of DMSO, 20 drops of hydrogen peroxide in 100 milliliter thing. First of all, don't mix DMSO and hydrogen peroxide together. And with colloidal silver, you don't mix them together. Colloidal silver cannot even be mixed with water because it changes it. Hydrogen peroxide is extremely reactive. If you mix it with anything, it's going to, before you ever get it before it goes into the air, it's already different. If it's especially you're using, what is this? Oh, peroxide and DMSO. These are very, very reactive substances. So when you put them in a container, the diffuser, they've already changed. They're not quite the same anymore. So if you're going to diffuse something and you want to get it for the right amount, or get treatments where you can do, there are places you can go to get IV therapies of high dose vitamin C, intravenous curcumin, intravenous quercetin, intravenous artesunate, intravenous ozone. There are places you can go. But again, that's just one aspect of eliminating CFCs. The most important ones are you have to stop making them. You have to stop making them by changing the way you live, by changing your body's chemistry so that it no longer does that, no longer produces those. So, I mean, that's it. Because if you do, if you don't do that, then clearly, right? It's not you're not going to succeed. And then the third thing of increasing the immune system, if you don't get the immune system working, it's not going to be sustained either. Because you don't want to just get rid of it. No one wants to say, I don't want to hear 5-year statistics. Even if I was 110, I don't want to hear 5-year statistics, right? And plus, I don't want to hear statistics anyway. Why? Because if it happens to me, it's 100%. I don't care if it was, you have a 3% chance of that. Yeah, well, if it happens to me, it's 100%. So I don't care, right? So percentage statistics are for marketing, I think. Coming out with whatever. So anyway, if you've been working with Dr. Brett, he's a pretty good guy. I haven't seen him in at least 15 years, but he's in Atlanta and great guy. I've recently sent someone to work with him, a patient. And you could use a nebulizer, but you want to do them one at a time. But there are other things you can be doing too. You can definitely do the peroxide, and you could do and colloidal silver. Yeah, definitely, but alone. You got to do cleansing. Yeah, the black seed oil is good. Do 20 or more supplements. Okay, well, that's but I don't know what they are, and all that. So there's a lot. Yeah, I'm afraid I don't want you to be doing too little. It'd be better to take 5 things that you're doing at it, like the perfect dosage and the perfect frequency, than taking 40 things where you're not. All right. Okay. So now, how important is it? This is from Karen. How important is it to remove any root canal one may have had? The most important thing. I mean, other than meditation, but no, but I'm serious. A root canal, now especially if that root canal is on the meridian where you have CFCs. That's it. If you don't do it, and the other thing is too, we're not going to work with somebody who hasn't taken care of that first, the dental. So we work with biological dentists. So you'd come to us and we'd spend the first 2 weeks with the dentist if you needed it, getting all that done, and then cleansing and all that sort of thing. And then once that's done, then we can start. Because if we do treatments and you've got a root canal in there, it's got there's a book that came out not too long after root canals became standard practice in dentistry, and it's called The Root Canal Cover-Up. You should all read it. So they would get, let's say somebody had breast CFCs, and it was on the breast meridian. Well, they would take out the root canal and get the pus. The pus usually black, and inject it into a rabbit. The rabbit would get breast CFC. If it was colon the rabbit would get colon CFC. That's how powerful it is. So you've got to do it. You've got to find out if you got cavitations. You've got to do that. That's number one. Then you can work on everything else. Now here's Kelly. Are there any alternative treatments for hilar cholangiocarcinoma that has been deemed unresectable? Well, Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they're selling it's unresectable because you don't really want them in there cutting it up. Um, Now, Kelly, I'd like to know, where you've been, where you've visited, what foods you've been eating and stuff like that, because cholangiocarcinoma is one of those that is associated specifically with a particular kind of parasite called a Ophistocorcus is the name, and it's a liver fluke. Um, and one of its secondary hosts is the fish, and eating the fish can is how you can get it. There's another one, Clinorchus, which is in more in China. But anyway, that would be one thing I would look at. And then also, you may have somehow, now we don't know how we're getting exposed to all these parasites, but and anyway, the treatment to get rid of um, Opistorchis, which is that liver fluke that causes cholangiocarcinoma, is praziquantel. So praziquantel, which is a um, antiparasitic, it's an anti-helminth, a worm, although it does also do pretty good with protozoa. Um, but the doses that if you read online, like look up the like Medline or whatever it is. Yeah, take 600 milligrams once a day for 3 days or 4 days. How about 300? How about 600 milligrams 3 times a day for 3 weeks straight? 1 week off, 3 weeks straight, 1 week, plus all the other ones. You've got to really get these guys. These parasites are successful. They've been around for a long, long, long time. All right. And they know not only how to avoid being detected and found, but they also know how to mess with your immune system so that your immune system becomes disabled. So you got to hit them heavily. And if you don't hit them heavily, you're just going to cause them to migrate and spread out and be all over your body. So hit them hard. Okay. Um, so not just on a full moon and not just ivermectin every other day. No, 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 no. Okay, so now, but this was the cholangiocarcinoma. Yeah. Um, okay, so that's it. But anyway, so for cholangiocarcinoma, remember all it is again, location, location, location. It means it's in the bile ducts that are in the liver instead of forming on the ovary, instead of forming wherever. That's all it means. So it's the same kinds of things that we would do for all of them. What was that? Someone told me. Everyone, well, everyone here probably has been diagnosed. Do a rundown of a protocol would be beneficial to many. Thank you. Oh, okay. This is Griffey. Yeah, that's a good thing. Okay, so most people have been. No, did you hear that tragedy? The word diagnosed. Um, what does it mean? I mean, yeah, it. I won't go into it. It won't belabor it this time. But it's a spell. They put a spell on you. It's not a good spell, and you can't get it out of your head. It's gone. It's gone through your head. It's into your. It's somewhere sitting between your brain, your brain stem, and your heart. And they said, you're no longer who you thought you were. You are whatever. You're a cholangiocarcinoma. You're a serous ovarian. You're uh, a non-small cell. That's who you are. That's what you are. And by the way, it's incurable. And by the way, we need to cut this out and do this and all this. It won't help really. I don't know how they convince people to do it, but anyway, when you get diagnosed, they got you. Best thing in the world, don't ever get diagnosed. I don't want a diagnosis. Don't let them put biopsies or anything like that. So what do? If you got diagnosed? How about if you didn't get diagnosed, but you got something, for example, like let's say you got something big growing here. What else is it gonna be? There's nothing else. You don't have frogs growing in your body. Okay, that's what it is. You know, as our good friend Bob Dylan said, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. Okay. Oh, I got a lump here and a lump in here. I'm going to biopsy here. Why? What else is it? Oh, there might be triple negative. This is triple positive. But all that's nonsense. Okay, you got to understand that. So, what do we have to do? Here's the thing. Let me answer that guy's question. That was very good, or woman. Um, Basically, it's what we always talk about. You've got to change your internal biochemistry so you're no longer making CFCs. And you do that through a minimum of 3 to 8, maybe 12 weeks of juice. First 3 days are tough, and then after that, it's easy. Okay, you get colonics, 2 a week for the first few weeks, and then once a week. Okay, you can do lymphatic therapies. You get a rebounder. Start doing movements at every 90 minutes. You're going to get up for 15 minutes and just move and do. Watch the podcast with Darren and I. There's also, I have on the website drlodi.com. There's a stop making. I had to use the word just because people, CFCs, stop making CFCs. And it's got several of us doing a teaching. It's about 8 hours of and one of the people that Darren's on there, of course, Tenzin, who's a former Buddhist monk, and then there's also the raw food chef, one of the raw food chefs, just showing how to prepare the foods. And most people think, well, I don't eat raw food. Okay. Have you tried the food in the ICU yet? Have you? Well, it comes in usually through your central line. You do want to do this stuff, and you're happy to do this stuff, and you're going to do it with gratitude because you don't want to go get tortured and killed. You don't want that. That's what they'll do. That's what they'll do. So you eat this food for 9 months, 18 months, whatever, and and it's delicious. You should see what we make. It's crazy. I wish I could. If I wanted to have us be able to do like with the Zoom where I could share a screen, but I can't get I got TikTok and Instagram on the cell phone, and then I've got Restream doing all the other ones. So I can't do it, but I'd love to show you how delicious the food is. I gotta do one session with you guys at our center making the food. It's so good. You go, no, this is not raw. Can't be raw. And then other people say, well, if I could get it like that, I could do it. Right? That's how it's got to be. It's got to be delicious. If it doesn't taste good, it won't be good for you. All right. So anyway, so you're going to change answering that question. We're going to change. We're going to cleanse, clean the colon, move around. You're going to go to sleep at 8. Just do it. Don't argue. I can't because of this, that. Oh, well, you cannot. One thing about God, and if guys don't know about God and you want to call it nature, nature is the physical manifestation of God. And nature is everything you've ever seen out there. It's galaxies and it's microorganisms, supernovae. So if you don't know about God and you think there was a Big Bang and everything randomly fell into perfect order, then we can use the word nature. All right. And so we know that nature is kind of perfect in that it doesn't produce waste and it's perpetual. Right? It's perpetual. It keeps going. It keeps going. Nature keeps going. When did it start? We don't know. They're giving the estimates of when the universe. Why did it have to have a beginning? Why does everything have to have a beginning? Why do we think everything had a beginning? I know. Biblically it says in the beginning, Genesis is the beginning, right? But understand that that can also mean I don't want I won't get into that right now, but it doesn't have to mean that it happened one time and it happened, at this time. It's just how when this phenomenon exists, that's kind of how it starts. But anyway, all things that are in the phenomenal universe, that is, they have physical existence, physical qualities, have three fundamental aspects. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Right? So now that which is spiritual, because that's the physical phenomenal universe. And if you look at nature, it's forever changing. Things are changing, right? If you did what do they call that when they do fast filming, and you see, like, you can see the sun goes up and down, the clouds are moving quickly and all that. I forget what they call it. It's a kind of a photography. It makes you let go see things happen quickly. If you could do that you'd see that everything's changing. Everything changes. Look at you. Look at you. When you look in the mirror today, are you the person you saw 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? No. Continually changing. Everything is continually changing. Everything is continually changing, right? Everything, right? And it had a beginning, it had a middle, and it'll have an end. It'll have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, there's another aspect of reality, of existence, and it's called nature, the phenomenal universe, operates under the law of necessity, not good or bad, necessity, but it also is perpetual. Now, that other one that I'm talking about is eternal. Eternal. Do you understand what eternal means? Eternal means it never began. There is no middle and there is no end. And so if you want to understand what eternal is, just think of the concept of the word now. Now never began. It's always been now. Anyway, not sure how I got there from wherever I was, but okay, so Roberta, I have myelodysplastic syndrome, deletion 15q. I am taking 2.5 milligrams of Revlimid, 21 days on, 7 days on. Last hemoglobin was 8.9. Well, again, Roberta, you should do the same things we were talking about, because if you're just holding it, you're like, whatever, drugs are just going to maybe hold it in place for a while. Okay? But they're not going to deal with what is causing it, and it will take off. Myelodysplastic syndromes take off. They can become leukemias. Now, if your hemoglobin was 8.9, I guess you were implying that yours was affecting your red blood cells, probably affecting the red blood cells, because the myelodysplastic syndrome can affect platelets or white blood cells or red blood cells. Sounds like yours was the red. But you've got to get, in other words, there's something in your body that is causing this to happen in your bone marrow. So we gotta cleanse. Got root biological dentistry, stem cells. Valerie, I have heavy metals in my system. I am doing EDTA and DMSA, my lower leg, shin, and inside ankle. I've been having endless eczema since August 2023. I have seen functional naturopath, skin specialist, and no one could help me get to the bottom of my problem. Help, please. Okay, so Valerie, since August of 2023, what happened then? That's what I would ask. What did you do in July? Were you Pfizered or Moderna'd or AstraZeneca'd? Did you do any of that stuff? Now, eczema is a term that's used in dermatology just for dry, scaly skin, right? And it's itchy, and but there's a lot of reasons for it. So it's not like one, and it's not an entity, a thing. But so you say, so only on your lower leg, shin. So one leg, shin, inside ankle. Well, anyway, what you got to do, Valerie, is the same thing that we all need to do. Got to go to a biological dentist. You got to get a 3D cone beam CT checked out by a real biological dentist who never save root canals, never put root canals in. They don't use titanium implants. When they remove mercury, they have this specific way that they've been trained. They use ozone. They use platelet-rich fibrin. That's okay. You gotta do that, and you've got to find out. You do a cleanse. I'm telling you, if you, I had a person with psoriasis. Psoriasis, if you've ever seen it, is this big flaky skin, right? And and a lot of times people just have patches here and there, or maybe up here. But this one, the person had it all over their body, and when they got up in the morning, they had to literally sweep, take the sheet outside and sweep, full of skin. And I guess they had tried many things. This was up in northern New York, and I used to go up there and work with a Native American tribe up there, and this person wasn't in the tribe, but they were nearby. It was a man. Anyway, juice cleanse. 4 weeks, 3, 4 or 5 weeks. Cleaned it up, and then I didn't follow up. But if the person ate right, continued to clean them out and all that. So remember, your body is always doing what? It's always adapting to a situation where it's a biological needs are not being met. All right, so you got to clean up. Oh, I didn't finish that other thing too. The guy that said, so what do we do if we've been diagnosed? So you're going to do a lot of that stuff to stop making CFCs. Number 2, you're going to go to someplace and you're going to get metabolic therapies, which are vitamin C, B17, artesunate, curcumin, ozone, all these things that eliminate the CFCs because of their enzymatic limitations, but it's not a cytotoxic. In other words, it's not a toxic therapy so that it kills all cells, because the healthy cells have the enzyme, so it doesn't harm them, or it's good for them. That's a metabolic therapy. They use those, a lot of them, so that you overwhelm the CFCs, because they're smart. And then the third thing you're going to do is wake up the immune system, because it has been put to sleep. And you're going to wake that up with IL-2, GC-MOF, TA1, tyrosine 1, and methionine and enkephalin, and meditation, movement, stuff like that. You're going to get all your hormones in balance. Everybody's hypothyroid, whether you know it or not. You got to just bring all systems into balance, and the consequence, the result, will be something known as health. Because that's how God made us, designed us to be health, to function optimally. And that is the only way to describe health: functional, optimal functioning of the person, of the organism. Right? So health is not the absence of disease. It's not the absence of anything. It's the presence of something. It's the presence of what? The ability to regenerate, rejuvenate, and procreate. Regenerate, rejuvenate, and procreate. Yes. So the word health, the root of the word health is heal. So what are you healing? I don't have a cut, but I'm not healing anything. You're making 37 million new cells a second. That's a healing. It's a process of healing. You're a process. You are a process, a dynamic process. 36 septillion chemical reactions, that's 21 zeros, going on in your body every second. You are a happening. You're not a thing that happened. Right? Got that? Okay. You're a happening, which is good news. Why? Because whatever you were last month, last year, you don't have to be this month, next year. Okay? Because you're changing. You're changing. You're like a flame. A flame is not a static thing. It's a streaming gases. So anyway, so health is the ability to heal, continually heal. And in order to do that, you've got to be functioning optimally. Yeah. So how do you get rid of, this is the last question because what time is it? Oh, I'm over 7. Oh, I went over 3 minutes. How do you get rid of CFCs? A CFC stem cells. Curcumin, vitamin C, mebendazole, doxycycline, and I know I'm forgetting one. Oh, ivermectin. Those are the big ones, big ones, big ones. So after you've done your complete parasite cleanse, then you would do maybe ivermectin 12 milligrams twice a day, and mebendazole 500 milligrams maybe once a day, and doxycycline maybe 50 milligrams twice a day because you're already taking care of everything else. Initially, you have to do 100, and if you got bone mets, and there's other. So I'm just talking about for the stem cells, and then mebendazole, and then ivermectin, curcumin. Now you can only absorb 3% of the curcumin you have, so take a lot, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Still, you're only absorbing 3%, but they all specifically, directly do that. And then if you're also doing all the other things of being really healthy and all that, then you don't have to worry, it's not coming back, right? Okay. All right, everyone. Sawadee kap, kapumakap, tukon, kapumakap, and aloha, and thank you. Thank you for being here. Namaste, namaskar. And I'll see you next week. And hope I'm not so sleepy. I apologize for being sleepy, and I apologize for that sound earlier. Anyway, if you want to watch it, you can watch it tomorrow, or it'll be posted a few minutes after we're done here. So anyway, so there we go. Sweaty cup. Wait a minute.